Hi there and welcome to the channel. My name is Kjetil, Lima Bravo for Foxtrot Hotel, and today I'm gonna do some antenna building. Firstly, Martin has a lot of nice videos on how he designed and built this kit. He also sells it over at Etsy, and I do recommend that you go buy it from him if you want to support him. Or you can also send him some coffee or whatever over at buymeacoffee.com. Very nice guy, and I do recommend supporting people that actually share stuff like this because it's nice to have. What I'll be building today is nothing really exciting antenna-wise. It's gonna be a dipole antenna and a quarter wave vertical antenna. So I'm not gonna go very deep into the science on how these works and how you calculate it. There are so many videos on that already. So I'm just gonna show how I build it, and then I am gonna go out and test it. The first step here is printing all of the plastic parts, and I've already prepared two kits here, one green and one orange. I printed mine in PETG or PETG so that it's nice and sturdy. The main component is this antenna winder. It has a spot for a SO239 in the middle and a hole here to put on your antenna. And then wires can come in from every angle here, and there's room for a lot of them. There are also these dipole links. I don't really need them because I'm not going to build a linked dipole today, but they could be nice to have on the end just as insulators. So I printed a few of these as well. This is Morten's photo on how it's assembled, so I'll show you how mine is later today. I have two antennas planned for the day. The first one is one I've already built. It's a quarter wave vertical. I've shown that in a lot of videos already, and it just needs a more rugged frame, so I'm gonna put this into Morten's handle here. But I'm also gonna build a simple linked dipole, or a start of a linked dipole, where I'm gonna start off at 15 meters because I don't have any good antennas for 15. And I am gonna run digimodes on this, so I would like to place it here a bit low in the band, but I would also like to use SSB. But for dipoles, usually it's not a big problem. So probably I will place mine with a center somewhere around 21200 megahertz. To calculate the lengths I need of the wire, I'm going to use the HF Linked Dipole Antenna Designer that you'll find on the SOTA Maps Extra tab here. It's a simple tool and quite nice to do. So by standard it says 3 bands. I'm actually just going to use one today because I just want a normal dipole antenna. To start, you can either input the frequency here, just write in that I want 21200 kilohertz, or you can go in here and set by band. So in here, you can say my highest frequency, it detected that was 15 meters, and mid-band, you can select anything here. You could also go in here, and if you have more bands, say you have 3 bands you would like. Now I've reset the form and I'm gonna input the values I want because I only want one frequency here. And it's not gonna be that perfect. So 21200, and I would like to have the center support 7 meters above ground. That's where my antenna mast is strong enough for this. And I would also like to have it as high as possible, of course. I don't carry any really tall masts with me on long hikes because they are heavy. I do have some that are heavier, and when I got the chance, of course I'm going to use that, but for hiking, no. End support height is how far it's off the ground, and in my case that varies a lot. Depends, maybe there's no trees to tie it to, and then end support height is going to be 0 meters. So I'm just going to input that because that is the most normal thing I actually have where I'm operating. Rope extender. I'm going to show you here, but that's the rope at the end of the wire. So I'll just input 5 meters here. And if you then press calculate, you get a view of how the antenna is going to look. And you also get the angle here is 30 degrees. And then the wire is 3.13 meters. But you can also see this is really steep. And usually I do like the linked dipoles to be wider. It gives more support, and there's probably some radio things about this as well. So if we extend this more, say I add a 10 meter rope here, remember here 3.13, and I recalculate it, and then it's 3.25 meters for the same frequency. So the angle really affects it, and it's not that big of a difference. This is 10 centimeters difference. I don't want to use 10-meter ropes here. I am going to stick with 5 meters. Of course, I am going to add some extra wire and then fine-tune this when I get into the field for my first operation. So probably I will cut these at 3.2 meters. For my wire, I'm going to use the SOTA Beams antenna wire, the lightweight kind. I do know this is not the strongest version, but it's lightweight and I have a lot of it lying around from old antenna projects. So I am going to reuse what I have of the old stuff, just to not waste anything, because it's 3 meters of wire. I have a lot of these lying around. This is simple lightweight wire, but there are other options if you like that. I'm over at my workbench now and I got some simple tools here. These are the bases I'm going to use, or the winders in the middle. I got 2 of them, both PETG, one green, one orange, so that I can easily tell them apart. Not going to be a big problem with this one, because one is going to have 2 wires, the other is going to have 4. Also got these insulator parts. I got 2 kits of these and another green one coming off, because one of them has 4 wires that I would like to insulate on the end. For the centers of the antenna, there's going to be these ones. And it's really simple. You take this SO239 and then you plunk it in the middle here, and then you assemble it. And I do recommend you going over to look at Morten's video on how he designed this. And it's a really nice design. This one fits perfectly. It's a bit snug, and just as you would like to have it. And then of course you need some bolts and some nuts to go in there. I got some cable shoes here that's gonna fit on the end of the wires. At least I think I have the correct size. Yep. And of course I do have some heat shrink tubing just to do some extra insulation. Tool-wise, you do not really need very much. I got my trusty old, or untrusty old VC99 multimeter just to do some continuity checking. I got a simple soldering iron here, temperature controlled. I got some ratcheting cable shoe crimper here. And of course some simple hand tools like a screwdriver and ratchet set for the bolts. Wire-wise, I have some loose ends here of good old yellow SOTA Beams wire and some more green one. And I got this cable mess here, which is the old quarter wave vertical antenna that I would like to convert into something less messy than this. And I do hope this is gonna work well. So now it's time to just do some measuring, cut the wires to the correct length, and then move on and do the soldering and assembly. So now I have everything lined up that I need for my first one, which is going to be a dipole for 50 meters. Got 2 pieces of wire here, yellow and green. It's the same wire, just different color. And these are 3.2 meters long, which should give me some leeway when it comes to the antenna or mounting the antenna. And of course, this is going to be out in the field, so no assembly is going to be the same. I got the center here. I got an assortment of nuts and bolts that I'm gonna need. And I'm gonna start by putting in 3 of the bolts here, just to make sure that they stick in place. So these are normal M3 socket head bolts, and I got some M3 nuts and some spring washers. So pretty simple stuff. And I'm gonna put in 3 of these to get started. The holes here are a bit tight, but that's not very relevant for the kind of work I'm doing here. I could of course have pre-drilled them. And you have to hand it to Morten. The tolerances on this is perfect right out of the box. So I'm gonna start with the center one here, the one I'm gonna solder in, and this is a normal solder SO239 and no name thing. So we're just gonna come in here like so, and then come out on the other end. And I can tighten this in later, so this is nice for strain relief. The SOTA beams wire is thin and rather brittle aluminium wire, and it's multi-core or multi-strand. So it's not a very strong wire, but it's really lightweight, and it's suitable for most of the stuff I'm doing. Most of my antennas are using this, and of course it's quite cheap. I have a lot of it. The solder wire I have here is 1 millimeter thick, and it's just something I actually got for free once when I ordered something else from a ham radio store. So it's half a kilo, so I think this is going to last me for most of my life with the amount of soldering I'm doing. I'm going to do some light pre-tinning of the wire and just make sure that it fits in, and then put it in here and see if I can make this thing stick. It's not my favorite thing to solder, but still. Before I'm going to solder, I'm going to put on this small heat shrink tube, and this fits over the center here. And then I'm going to try some solder. Everything here has been used before, so it's nice to have them have a lot of these old stuff lying around for these simple, fun projects. These cores, or these SO239 cores, these ones are really cheap and crappy quality. And centers, if you use too much heat here, the centers will just melt and get loose. So I'm trying not to use too much heat in here. And this should be okay. And then just put this one on. I don't really solder enough to bother having a heat gun. I probably should have that. So I'm just going to put this over a gas burner to not have too much soot on it. And this is really El Cheapo heat shrink, so it actually starts burning slightly when it gets too hot. But hey, it's good enough for this. In the other end, I'm gonna add this orange end part, and these are just gonna be tied on there. And then I can add whatever rope I feel like on the end. I think I'm gonna have the rope loose, otherwise this is gonna be a rather big assembly. And I will of course also try to adjust this. As I said, this is about 10 centimeters too long at the moment. So probably I will have to cut off a bit when I go out in the forest. So I'm not gonna be too strict about tying this down now. But still, there's one end. The other end is gonna be pretty much the same, but I'm gonna add one of these small rings here, the red ones. And this already has heat shrink tubing on it. Not very good heat shrink tubing, but still it has some kind of heat shrink tubing on it. So this is going to come in from this end here, where I didn't put in a screw. Down and up. And strip some of the wire. And strip some of the wire. Go. This is roughly well suited. And then I'm just gonna heat shrink that as well. That should be more than enough. Now it's time to attach the last screw here and then attach the nuts on the rear. Now it's just to add the strap to this end as well, and remember this is also too long, so I'm just gonna do some temporary fastening here and probably gonna have to redo this out in the field. That should be how we wind these. It's two sides, and this should work fine for the small one. The other one has four sides, so I think it's gonna be a lot more crowded. So for this one, for some reason, I used a lot bigger eyelets, and they are not going to go very well there. So I do have to use some discs for these. So that was a fun little project, and now I have two nice antennas, one for 20 meters and one for 15. I didn't show very much of this 20-meter one because, well, it's mostly the same as the other one. Now I'm going out to test these in the field. It's contest weekend, and it's a CQ worldwide contest, and with the two monoband antennas, it should go okay, but I'm just gonna test if these are like workable or not. And if I don't get many QSOs in the contest, of course I can blame Martin for building a bad antenna kit. Of course not. But still, this has been fun. Join me out in the car. I'm over at the Järstrand Nature Preserve, and I'm gonna test the new antenna here. I got the dipole mounted there behind me, and right here you can see my new car. I switched out my old Caddy for a newer model, and this one is significantly larger inside, so I'm gonna try operating from inside here today. The antenna assembly went really well. I have this big metal pole here, and then this is a 12-meter antenna. I only erected it about 6 or 7 meters up there. So should be quite well for the 15-meter, at least for tuning it in, and it's going to be really quick to just take it up and down to see, to fine-tune it. I'm nicely seated inside the car here. I guess there's a bit of a hollow audio in here. There's not a lot of room, but I can sit here with my head almost not hitting the ceiling. I was also looking at a bigger car, but this is more practical, like in everyday life. I'm going to be testing it out with X6100. It has a nice SWR meter. How accurate it is a really good question, but still, I'm gonna see what happens here. So remember, this antenna is cut for 15 meters. Input frequency in the calculator was 21.200, but I did also cut it a bit longer. But that's also very dependent on the angle of the assembly or mounting here. So I'm just gonna see what happens when I bring it up here to 21 something. See if I can find a free frequency to tune it. It seems like at least it's picking up a lot here on 15, so that's rather good. So SVR scan going here now, and it is pretty bang on zero or flat, which is rather amazing. I think this is a good antenna for this band. Lima Charlie 5 Lima.
Lima Charlie 5 Lima, you find out 16.
Thank you, 5914.
Thank you, 5 Lima.
Lima Charlie 5 Lima.
Lima Charlie 5 Lima, good afternoon. You're 5916.
Thank you, you're 5914.
Okay, thank you. Good luck. United X-ray 0 Kilo Radio contest. 9 America 5 Yankee, 9 America 5 Yankee contest.
Lima Charlie 5 Lima.
Lima Charlie 5 Lima, 5915.
Thank you, 5914.
Thank you, 9 America 5 Yankee. Good luck. Romeo Zulu 3 Bravo.
Lima Charlie 5 Lima.
Charlie 5 Lima. What's your prefix?
Lima Charlie 5 Lima.
Lima Charlie 5 Lima, 5916.
Thank you, 5914.
Good luck. Cure that. Thank you, sugar 50 kilo.
Lima Charlie 5 Lima.
Lima Charlie 5 Lima, Panama Park.
5914.
Thank you. Good luck. Yankee Tango 5 Alpha.
Lima Charlie 5 Lima.
Lima Charlie 5 Charlie 5915.
Negative. Lima Charlie 5 Lima. 5914.
Lima Charlie 5 Lima, thanks. Cure that.
That was a quick one, and I got 11 in the log here. I could have run a lot more. The antenna is dead flat through the 15-meter band, and just a normal perfect dipole. They are good antennas. Heard a lot of stations, but this is CQ Worldwide, so there's a lot of big pileups, and even with a 100 whiskey station, it's hard to get through. Anyways, this has been a fun building project, and nice to have some new antennas. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching, and if you did, please leave a comment below, like and subscribe and everything like that. See you next time. 7-3.